With each season and episode of Taewog, the suspense, the grift, and actions, they are so phenomenal that we all miss a lot of actions. Gumballers, let us walk down memory lanes and relish some of the insane episodes of TAWOG that you might have missed. Sit back, let's take a ride. Most of the insane episodes a lot of people can recall vividly are from later seasons of TAWOG. However, let's take it way back to the genesis of the show. The DVD, Season 1, Episode 1. This is the very first episode of The Amazing World of Gumball, and it did set the tone for how insane this show could get.
I think you have a problem with that phone.
Yeah.
So I've arranged for your butt to be surgically grafted onto your face.
Yeah.
The DVD began with a soft plot, where we saw Gumball accidentally destroy a rented DVD, and instead of just admitting it, he and Darwin decide to play a fast one by returning it to the rental store before they find out. However, that simple mistake ended up causing chaos beyond their capability. A simple errand spiraled into absolute chaos, they got chased by a T-Rex, literally, battled through Elmore's bizarre citizens, and basically caused mass destruction just to cover up their little mistake. This episode is insane for how quickly everything escalated. It all began with the everyday kid problem, breaking something which was borrowed, and ended with the Wattersons fighting for their respective lives against a force way bigger than them. There is absolutely no way to have a perfect introduction into the amazing world of Gumball than this.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about! If there's one thing girls love, it's cash. So you gotta make it rain.
A normal problem made ridiculously over the top. If you had thought the madness with DVD ended there, wait till you find out what more of damage and chaos a spoon could cause. Still in Season 1, Episode 2 of The Amazing World of Gumball, The Spoon. At the building stage of TAWOG, it was mostly Gumball and Darwin causing all of the catastrophes in the show. In The Spoon, Gumball and Darwin are sent on a late-night errand by Richard to get a simple kitchen spoon. But of course, you can guess this right, nothing in Elmore ever stays simple. The duo's quick trip to the gas station spirals into another dimension of madness involving armed robbers, hostage situations, and chaos that feels way more like an action movie than a kid's cartoon.
Step back! She's gonna severely reprimand him!
What makes this episode insane is how cinematic it feels. It's way too advanced for the everyday cartoon we are quite familiar with. The duos are caught up in life or death stakes over something as trivial as cutlery. The contrast between the small problem needing a spoon and the giant fallout involving crime, explosions, panic shows exactly why the show stood out from day one. The DVD and The Spoon were the first two episodes of Season 1 that made so many Gumballers diehard fans. These first two episodes were absurd, overblown, and it's the kind of what just happened storytelling that would become Gumball's signature style. The Wattersons have a way of making the most vain things, so big and yet chaotic. In the remote Season 2, Episode 1, we see the Watterson family fight over a TV remote. It all began when the family sat down to watch the television, but it gets more interesting when a power tussle escalates between who picks what channel to tune in. What starts as a small argument escalates into a full-blown war, with alliances forming, betrayals unfolding, and slapstick battles filling the house. What was expected to be a family bonding moment turned out to be a sheer escalation into power, dominance, and survival. The Watterson house gets wrecked, and each family member takes the fight to absurd lengths. What makes the remote so insane is how relatable it feels. Every family in reality at one point had a similar experience, but might not have escalated into the Gumball scenario. Let's move forward with Season 2, Episode 10 of The Amazing World of Gumball. Imagine a place where every mistake, every glitch, and every forgotten thing ends up. Well, that's the Void. This one is quite different from the other episodes of TAWOG. When Gumball and Darwin stumble into this bizarre hidden dimension, it feels less like a kid's cartoon and more like a sci-fi thriller. If you have ever thought of where every abandoned character goes to or new character comes from, The Void has got the answers.
That was awesome! High five!
That still needs a little work.
The Void is another universe in its sphere. What makes this episode insane is how dark it gets. Floating fragments of half-formed characters drift in the emptiness, glitches flicker across the screen, and the whole thing feels uncomfortably meta. It's here that Rob, once a throwaway background extra, falls into the abyss and comes back scarred as the show's main villain. The void isn't just unsettling, it explains why Elmore feels so strange. It's a universe that changes characters completely. Have you thought about how all the bananas, puppets, and polygons aren't just jokes? They're survivors. Survivors of a world that's constantly erasing what doesn't fit. For kids, it's spooky fun. For adults, it's an existential gut punch. What happens to the things we forget? And that's why The Void stands as one of the most ambitious, jaw-dropping episodes in the series. If you want to find out the secret of the Void universe, smash the subscribe button and like this video, because we have got something special coming only for subscribers. Let's turn the book to Season 2, Episode 28 of TAWOG, The Scam. This one begins like a typical Gumball setup, with a school science fair. What more could you think of? Well, it goes over your head as a normal science project, where everyone is expected to bring their inventions, turned out to be a science fair of display with crazy inventions that could easily end civilization. Every character present in the science fair seems to be tired of the civilization of Elmore. From Tobias's ridiculous muscle machine to Banana Joe's terrifying banana device, it's chaos from the start. But things get out of control when Richard tries to help Gumball and Darwin by building his own project, which of course spirals into disaster. The insanity here is how quickly a harmless school event turns into total world-ending destruction. By the finale, Elmore looks like it's on the brink of collapse, all because of a science fair gone wrong. Gumballers, what are your inventions from the science fair? Let me know in the comments section. There's no doubt this episode is a perfect example of how Gumball escalates situations. It starts with a laugh, snowballs into absurdity, and ends with the entire universe basically falling apart, only to reset like nothing happened. Flipping the book to the next page, Season 3, Episode 20 of The Amazing World of Gumball.
And yet, it's like I'm the supporting character of my own life!
Come on.
I'm not hugging you, we're both in towels.
The Shell. In this episode, we see Penny Fitzgerald, who always seemed like the sweet, shy girl next door type, until the shell shattered that idea we had of her. Literally, in this episode, Penny breaks out of her peanut shell and reveals her true form. Nothing beats that. A glowing, shape-shifting spirit creature who morphs depending on her emotions. That's bizarre. The transformation is so dramatic that it feels like a completely different show for a moment, but hey, it isn't. The insanity of this episode is how quickly it escalates. 1 second, we noticed Gumball is nervously confessing his love. The next minute, Penny is spiraling into monstrous forms. Dragons, demons, shadow beasts, name it. All of these happening as her feelings overwhelm her. On the other-
Of course you're not. You're richer than all of us. That's not your heart, is it? Sorry, I'm a vegetable. I don't really know how you people work.
On the other hand, it's beautiful, but terrifying and unforgettable. The art direction pushes the boundaries of what the show usually looks like, with glowing energy effects and surreal transformations. That's one of a kind in the history of cartoons. But the real twist is emotional. Penny isn't just Gumball's crush anymore. She's complex, vulnerable, and powerful. By the end, the chaos calms down, but the image of Penny breaking free from her shell stays with us. This episode is insane because it's not just funny, it's epic, romantic, and kind of scary all at once. There's one more from Season 3 of The Amazing World of Gumball. Episode 38, The Apology. Right here, Richard does something unthinkable, however, he refuses to apologize. That's the setup for the apology, and the results are insane. After hurting someone's feelings, Richard digs his heels in and declares he will never say sorry again. However, what follows is an escalating chain of chaos, the same thing we have always anticipated from the show. Gumball and Darwin try to force Richard into apologizing.
Earning from a successful hunt, the Moobus will be keen to scavenge. It is essential he evades discovery. He knows that despite his size, he's no match for the physical prowess of the elegant Kickbutters.
The insanity here isn't just the slapstick, it's Richard's sheer stubbornness. He destroys relationships, causes chaos across Elmore, and even gets into surreal situations, all because he refuses to admit he was wrong. By the end, Richard is basically a force of nature, unstoppable, irrational, and hilarious. This episode shows just how far a single joke, pushed around, could spiral into total madness. Have you ever asked yourself this question? What if Gumball dies? That's the chilling question in The Disaster. Here's Season 4, Episode 1 of The Amazing World of Gumball, The Disaster. It starts normally as every other episode of the show, with Gumball messing around. But suddenly we notice a change of things, everything glitches, and we're dropped into a nightmare version of Elmore where Gumball is gone and Rob is the only one who remembers him. Strange? Yeah, but true. The whole episode plays like a surreal horror story. Rob tries to save things as he runs through the town desperately trying to convince people Gumball exists, but everyone shrugs him off.
Want you as our new CEOs. There's only one problem. You still have hearts.
A painful moment, the screen warps, music distorts, and the show feels like it's collapsing in on itself. The normal screen you'd get for a lost signal on television. The insanity peaks when Rob literally rewinds the episode, breaking the fourth wall, trying to fix reality. But every attempt just makes things worse. By the end, it feels less like a cartoon and more like a cosmic warning, from an astrological perspective. The Disaster is insane because it's not just about a character, it's about the show itself unraveling. Will the compilation be ever complete without the choices? Let's get into Season 5, Episode 6, The Choices. Here is an important question. What if Nicole Watterson had chosen a different path? That's the question The Choices explores. And the answers on the drawing board so far are wild. Through flashbacks and alternate realities, we get to see Nicole's life play out in dozens of different ways. In an earlier version, she goes to college, becomes wealthy, and lives a perfect life. That's a normie life. In another, she trains as a martial arts master and travels the world. There's even a timeline where she ends up alone, fiercely independent, but missing something important. Each of these possibilities is fleshed out in detail, making it feel like a mini multiverse story inside a single episode. And the insane part? They're all believable. But the heart of the story comes when Nicole reflects on why she chose Richard. On paper, he's lazy, goofy, and irresponsible. But he also gave her something none of the other lives could: love, laughter, and a family she wouldn't trade for anything. This episode is insane because it balances absurd comedy with raw emotion. For a show about a pink rabbit and a blue cat, The Choices hits harder than most adult dramas. Gumballers, there you have the insane episodes from The Amazing World of Gumball. What episodes do you think are missing from the video? Let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, stay jiggy, stay gumballing,